Hello everyone and welcome to the SBK Betting Podcast. We are 9th of March and yes, we are heading towards the Cheltenham Festival, but this is not a Cheltenham Festival podcast, which is probably a bit of a relief for some as we are getting saturated from left, right and centre by Cheltenham previews, and you should not miss our Cheltenham preview podcast special. That is on YouTube, it's on Spotify, it's everywhere for you to need. But if you're looking for this weekend's racing action in particular, that is what we're giving you. So committed to the cause, we are back to give you some insight for the weekend before the Cheltenham Festival, which is of course the Imperial Cup weekend at Sandown. And we're rolling in from a weekend of successes. Last weekend, pats on the back to all of us. The triple nap landed. South Salito, the shortest price of all from me, but that was still a winner to win. But Calico, 11-4 for Ross, an iconic moment, 11-8 for TC. And TC also had the winner of the Moorbattle Hurdle in the shape of Benson. So a fine run of form. You must be thrilled with that.
Yeah, it was a brilliant last Saturday, wasn't it? I remember just looking into the WhatsApp every hour and we were congratulating each other. It's rare that we get 3 out of 3 on the naps, I have to say. We've had plenty of weeks where it's been 2 out of 3 and the other ones run very well, or we've had maybe 1 winning nap and 2 winning next best, but 3 out of 3 naps and a big prize winner of the feature race, can't fault it.
Yeah, and I think maybe we might have even had the 1-2. It was Colonel Mustard, wasn't it? It was second, who I think I put it up. I might be wrong. But that means that we arrive in good form, which helps for the Cheltenham Festival listeners for that other podcast. But as I said, this is dedicated to the Imperial Cup weekend and the racing that happens on Saturday. So that will be our feature, that race that we're going to look at. We've got 18 runners lining up. And I must say, before we even begin discussing the runners, the rain that we are experiencing this week is going to have a really big impact on Sandown. We know how testing that track gets. They had their mid-week feast of the Grand Military Gold Cup on Wednesday, and it looked pretty testing to say the least. Then it's been hammering down. I'm not too far away. It will be a case of who will be able to plough through the mud by Saturday, and that will probably come in, and I'm sure has come into Ross and TC's reckoning when they think about this race. TC, you're the man on form. You got the selection for our big race preview last week, and this race is headed by Playful Saint. Ticks all the boxes, doesn't he? Got all the solid form, and the ground must be a tick as well. Is the price around 6-1 putting you off? Do you think that's a reasonable enough price for a horse of this nature?
No, I think it's a very fair price. Now, it's worth mentioning, as you've already said, we're filming this on Thursday. And right now, there is a big discrepancy between the best price available, which is SBK right now at 6-1, and the worst price at 4-1. Now, I wouldn't be rushing in to back him at 4-1, given the competitive nature of this race. Obviously, it's going to be competitive. Look, there's a massive prize fund up for grabs here in this race before the Cheltenham Festival, so you're going to have lots of runners. So I wouldn't be taking the 4s, but if you can get on the 6-1 by the time you're watching this podcast or listening, then I'd say that's a good value bet. Before I go into my reasoning behind backing Playful Saint in the Imperial Cup, a couple of horses that were on my shortlist I just want to give a quick mention to. Jello, I think, is much better than last time out, will relish the better conditions. Monvielle and Hardy de Soy, who I'm pretty sure each of you are going to give a good case for, and Soaring Glory. They were the last 4 off of my shortlist. But I ended up coming down on Playful Saint, the favourite in the race. He's only had 4 starts for Dan Skelton. First time up, he won, but he clearly wasn't 100% fit, and he basically scraped home that day. He fell in, 1 more stride and he'd have lost. Then he had a long break again, came back this season, first time up, travelled like an absolute dream, blew out again in the closing stages. Didn't win this time, but it was a run full of promise and he clearly needed it. Then he ran at Sandown on testing ground and only got beat by a horse called Love Envoy, who's 8 from 9 in her career, a star Grade 1 mare, and actually her only defeat came in a Grade 1 over in Ireland, where she finished second to Brandy Love. She's 8 from 9, as I've touched on. This mare is top quality, and although she was giving a stone to Playful Saint, I thought he still ran exceptionally well to finish second. Now, that form was boosted by the 3rd, 5th and 6th, all winning since. It gave it a nice, strong look. Playful Saint then came out in a real nice race, a good bit of placing from Dan Skelton at Leicester, where he just bolted up by 12 lengths. Always on the front end, just kept galloping. Long home straight at Leicester, heavy ground. And you're going to get very much the same on Saturday. Long home straight at Sandown, heavy ground again, I imagine. And that should be right up Playful Saint's street. He's running off a protected mark of 135. I say protected because Dan Skelton's clearly plotted him at this race. Didn't want to put him up another £7 for winning a race in the interim. I think he's got lots going for him. Playful Saint, 6-1, I think it's a fair price.
Yeah, look, he hasn't been seen since 28th of December, as you say. I was surprised he only went up £3 for coming second to Love Envoy. I thought they probably were licking their lips when they saw that because, as you say, like true grade 1 form, but they really got the kind of the battering that the handicapper probably should have given them after that. So it's just a case of whether he can defy a nice £7 rise, but that 11 stone 6, it's not too bad for a race of this nature.
No, it certainly wouldn't put me off. And I like that Dan Skelton always seems to aim his horses, especially novices and, young hurdlers at big prizes. And it just feels like Playful Saint is another one of those that is going to have success on a big Saturday.
Yeah, of course, they're responsible for Langadan, who won this race a couple of years ago. And they've just been the kings of the handicaps, haven't they, on the Saturdays for the course of this season. So let's see if Playful Saint can land the odds for TC and what probably likely to be favourite backers. But as TC's quite rightly said, 6-1 with SBK as it stands offers better value than some of our market rivals. Okay, Ross. This year, it's always interesting to have a look at the Irish runners. Last year, it was Peter Fahey who won this with the extraordinarily well handicapped surprise package, who went on to run really well in the county hurdle. He's represented by Zoffany Bay, but I think it'd be crucial to point out that he doesn't actually represent any Irish form, does he? The only run he's had for the trainer was at Ascot, so there's no classic Irish form there. Man of Work fell last time. He's another Irish runner, so we don't really know the quality of him. So potentially we don't need to fear the Irish that much, or what do you make of their cases before I get to your selection?
Yeah, I had Zoffany Bay on a short. I mean, I had a much longer shortlist than TC by the sound of things. I thought this was fiercely difficult. Zoffany Bay, I think you've got to have on the shortlist. It was a massive run last time after 700 days off. Moved from David Cotton to Peter Fahey at Ascot over 2 mile 3. Got outpaced and then stayed on. You would initially think dropping back to 2 miles wouldn't suit, but this is going to be a race run at a very different tempo. They went pretty quick round Ascot and quickened up turning in. You just got a bit flat-footed. You have to fear the bounce factor after a big run like that after 700 days off, and he's travelling from Ireland over the sea. There's just enough little things there that can put me off. But if he won, you certainly wouldn't be surprised. And Peter Fahey, if we talk about Dan Skelton being king of the handicaps, Peter Fahey certainly knows how to line one up and hit the target. So I just run you through my shortlist. I mean, Playful Saint was on the shortlist for certain. For everything Tom said, he's just got untapped potential. I think Gavega, you have to give a nod to. Got good course form. I think the horse that he beat in Nicky Henson's last time, Immortal, is a really nice horse. And I think probably not enough credit was given to Gavega for the way he went through that race and won fairly impressively, giving away weight. Then you've got form lines between Isio, Hardy DeSoy and J-Lo from Sandown last time. I mean, Isio is weighted to get much closer to Hardy DeSoy and went a fairly wide, unusual route, should we say, last time. But the more I looked at it, the more I just thought there was only one horse galloping through the line on that occasion, and that was the winner, Hardy DeSoy. Fairly big hike in the weights. Just is enough to put me off in what I think is going to be a competitive handicap. Then you come to Knickerblock of Glory. I mean, he's won a chase off 129, was a good second last off 133 to a course specialist at Wetherby, and has got a £5 claim coming off. And there's no evidence that he'd hit his ceiling over hurdles. So I think you could make a case for him. But the two I've come down on, and it won't be a race I play big, and I keep my war chest dry for Cheltenham, thank you very much. But I like the Philip Hobbs train Monvial. I thought in the Betfair hurdle last time, the winner made all. Filey Bay the second was ridden fairly prominently and certainly made a forward move early enough. Coming off the pace was exceptionally difficult to do. Monvial was last, turning in and going nowhere. And actually, it's quite hard to watch because the front two are so far clear. You have to really crane your eyes around the corner of your screen to see him coming, but he makes rapid progress up the straight under far from forceful riding. I mean, I think they knew the game was gone. They didn't knock him around. He missed the second last hurdle, flew home into fifth. He's got winning form on soft and heavy ground. He won on heavy ground at Foss last. He's won on soft ground. I I still think he's on a nice mark. It might be that he wants further in time, but if he doesn't get outpaced in the middle part of the race, I think he's interesting to come home up the hill on soft ground under Ben Jones, who by his nature is perhaps a slightly more forceful rider than Tom O'Brien. So it might be that he gets a slightly more aggressive ride in the mid part of the race. And then the other one that I think is just worth mentioning at a big price is Fine Casting for Ben Pauling. I think he's got to show that he's got the pace for this. He's been winning over 2 mile 3, but he's got form over 2 mile on heavy ground himself. I thought his run at Haydock was really impressive. His run last time at Uttoxeter just wasn't him. I'm convinced of that. He's better than that. He'll go on the ground and he will stay. Now, if this turns into a real stamina sapping race, which it could well do, he might just have enough gears to get close enough in the early stages, and he'll be staying on very powerfully up the hill.
Okay, Ben Pauling, who's got one of the best he's ever trained running next week at Cheltenham, right? So he's hoping he's going to have quite a good weekend, and he's got a lot of money coming for his horse Bad as well in the Boodles. There's plenty coming out of the Ben Pauling yard at the moment. So yeah, Fine Casting. Let's see if he can keep that yard in good form ahead of the Cheltenham Festival. My quick question on Monvial, because I must say, I'm like you, Monvial was definitely on top, like part of my list. One of the last off, Knickerbocker Glory, thought really interesting over the hurdles. Monvial obviously ran in this race this time last year off a mark of 1:21. Do you think he's a much better horse, £8 higher than he was this time last year, with only 2 runs under his belt since?
Yeah, I just thought he looked quite weak, and when he won at Sandown last year, beating a horse, or might have been beginning of this year, beating a horse of Tom Lacey's, I thought he finished quite weakly, and I therefore took a lot of heart from the fact that he finished very powerfully at Newbury. It could just be that he's strengthening up and coming along with his races, as opposed to some going the other way.
Yeah, he's well bred actually. He's got Apple's Jade in the family. Just having a look quickly there now. He obviously got better and better as she got older. So only a 6-year-old Monvial. Yeah, it's he's tempting, isn't he? He's 8-1. Obviously, also the Betfair hurdle form. Teddy Blue, did he do enough to frank it? He did go a favourite in the end in the Moor Battle. Ran okay without being anything to really frank the form.
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't see that test suiting Teddy Blue, to be honest. I just didn't have him on my radar for the Moor Battle. So it's difficult when you don't fancy a horse for a race. You really shouldn't then use that as a form line, because you're either going to be, you could be wrong twice, if that makes sense. So I just looked at the Betfair in isolation. I think the runner-up is a good horse. The winner got a brilliant ride. Nothing came off the pace, bar this one and another horse of Gary Moore's that is firmly in my tracker.
Yeah. Okay, right. Good case, I think, for Monvial, as the same for Playful Saint for TC. TC had Hardy de Sawyer on his short list. That's my selection. He's 12-1. This horse for Jamie Snowden and Gavin Sheehan, a jockey I highly rate. I just think he gets tactics right. He's very good in handicaps like this. This horse was back to his best on soft ground over course and distance last time, beating Ikkyo as Ross mentioned, who, yes, did go very wide and travelled really nicely into it. But I don't think he stayed, as Ross has said, hit the line as hard as Hardy de Sawyer. Yes, he's gone up £4 in the handicap, but I think he could be worth a little bit more than that, especially on this ground. He's got a lovely race of 10.13. Ikkyo went up £1. So there's probably more in Ikkyo's favour at the weights, but Hardy de Sawyer is a bigger price at 12-1 and comes here off a back of a really, really impressive solid run on his favoured ground. So I'm happy to go with him. It's for me, it's going to be a case of getting that ground and really appreciating it. So Hardy de Sawyer at 12-1 for me, and wide open Imperial Cup. I'm looking forward to it. Gets juices flowing, and we'll see if any can back it up. Plenty of them, I think, TC, have got multiple entries. County Hurdle normally be the one for next week.
Yeah, Playful Saint, I know, has definitely got a county hurdle entry at this stage. But yeah, as you touched on, there are plenty. I generally don't like the angle of Imperial Cup straight to Cheltenham and then backing them at Cheltenham, even if they win the Imperial Cup very well. But it's definitely doable, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, right. Well, thank you for that. And let's go on to our naps, because these worked out all right last week. So I will start with Ross first.
So the nap is in the 115 at Sandown. Normally a division I steer clear of, but I was quite impressed with Penarossa when he won at this track quite early on in the season, and he handled the soft ground really well. Was completely unconsidered in the market, did it well from the front. Looked like they were coming to challenge, and he found loads in first-time cheek pieces up the Sandown hill, and was really gutsy and impressed me enormously. I think they've just waited with this horse for the ground. You know, you would have expected him to have been busy through the middle part of the winter, but as we know, we've had a fairly dry winter, and now the rain is coming just in time for the Cheltenham Festival. He's got the beating of Non-Stop and Havalia, who reoppose here. Unlike them, he also arrives here fresh, which I think is a nice angle, particularly with juveniles. I'd be surprised if he's favourite, because I think it's a small yard and he'll get overlooked by bigger yards, but I think he'll take all the beating in the 115. And then the next best comes in Hereford 340, 2 mile 5 chase, and it's Venetia Williams trained Lagonda. Now, Venetia's not in great form, but they've been running all right. I really like this horse. I've followed it for a while. It's a point-to-point horse that I know, goes well for Shane Quinlan. Was third in a really decent novice hurdle at Warwick before finishing second first time over fences last time at Exeter. The winner of that, Lazy Sunday's gone on to win twice more. It's now £12 higher. The third placed Eros, who is a horse that never wins but runs well. He's been second at Warwick since. I think this is a nice opportunity up a little bit in trip at a local track for Venetia. So that's Lagonda in the 340.
Okay, thank you for that. Obviously, Venetia loves it when it rains as well, so that will help. She's got some interesting runners at Sandown too. So Ross is Napa next best there. And TC, what are yours?
Yeah, I found it tough again this week. I didn't even love anything on the all-weather, although my next best is on the all-weather. Saying that, I said that last week and we went 2 for 3. So we'll see what happens this time around. My actual nap is in the US, by the way. So if you want to know that, check out betting.getsbk.com on Friday night, because this horse cannot get beat. But anyway, back to the UK action. My nap in the UK is going to be Ginger Mail in the 320 at Ayr. This 2 mile handicap hurdle features a couple of informed horses, Trapain Law for Lucinda Russell and Mamie's Magic for Sean Crawford, both of whom will probably make the market. And therefore, you should get a nice price on the selection. Ginger Mail's only run 9 times, remains open to further improvement, which I like to have as an angle for all of my selections, no matter if it's on the flat or over hurdles or over fences, in fact. And he's performed to a rating in the low 120s 3 times in 7 hurdle starts, yet he's only rated 115. So he's undoubtedly well treated on his best performance. Last time out, he ran on good ground, and it was a race that developed into a sprint, and he's just not a sprinting type of hurdler. He actually ran really well to take second. He was probably outperforming what he should have achieved in that race, and he wasn't beaten too far by the favourite either. Prior to that, he ran twice over 2.5 miles. Now, this horse is an out-and-out 2-miler. He just didn't stay on either occasion. First time up this year, so he's only had 4 starts. I've covered 3. First time up this year, he won over course and distance on good to soft ground and was really impressive. Now he finally gets his ideal conditions. So Ginger Mail in the 320 at Ayr is the nap. And then the next best is going to be in the 130 at Wolverhampton, and it's going to be a horse called Ingrator. Now, I loved the look of this race when I was looking prior to 48-hour decks, and I was going to tip either Venturous or Ingrator. Fortunately for me, I didn't have to make the decision because Venturous has been taken out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up being with Ingrator. He scrapes into the bottom of the handicap with just 8 stone 9 pounds on his back, and he's been allocated an ideal draw in gate 3. Gets Andrea Azzini as well, who's been riding really well over the last few weeks. Lots of positives there. He's an unexposed type against a group of largely exposed rivals, albeit most of his rivals do have the form and the ability to contest a race of this nature. Last year, he quickly developed into a leading sprinter, a leading 3-year-old sprinter. He beat a Clive Cox trainee called Harry 3 at Newmarket. Now, that horse was running off a mark of 89 that day and is now rated 109. So the form looks good, but albeit you have to factor in that maybe he wasn't a 109 horse in that race specifically. He just progressed into that rating. However, after that performance from Ingrator, which was really impressive, he kind of found life a little bit tough during the summer. I think there are 2 reasons for that. Either, one, he came to hand very early and was just over the edge slightly towards the midsummer. He was just seeing the best at the start of the season, which would lead to me believing he'll be good in this race on Saturday. And 2, I don't think he really handled Newmarket's July course very well, and he ran there 4 times in succession to end his campaign. back on the all-weather, where he's 1 from 2, representing Jack Shannon, who's trying to make his mark in the training industry as a first-time out trainer this year. And from a good draw, off a good mark, with a good jockey on board, Ingrator in the 130 at Wolverhampton.
Okay, very comprehensive case there made for both of them. And yeah, Jack Shannon making a really good start to his career. And those colours of John and Julie Aisbett are very key to his training operation. I saw a good, nice horse of theirs called Woodstock win at Chelmsford a while ago, earlier this month. So yeah, following Jack Shannon and heading into this turf season. I was surprised that there weren't more from Wolverhampton that you're looking forward to. I thought it looked like a really good card. Always is the Lincoln Trial, but probably quite difficult to work out who's not really got to their ceiling yet and who they're trying to save for the big occasion. So I wonder what you think of my selections, but I'm going to make a case for them anyway first. I'm going to start with the 150 at Sandown. This is the National Novices Handicap Hurdle, where Paul Nicholls had a very well handicapped horse to win this last year, and he's got some nice selections in here. I really like the look of Hugo's new horse, but I've sided against him with the Sam and Nigel Twiston-Davis runner, Cuthbert Dibble. I was there at Leicester when he absolutely bolted up. He was in a different parish than the others. He jumped a lot better than he had done when he was beaten at Leicester the time before. I asked Nigel Twiston-Davis, had they been schooling him? Had they been improving his jumping? He said, no, not at all. He was very cagey, in fact, and I asked him about next targets, and he said, well, we're going to see what a handicapper does to him. And the handicapper has really made a mark on him. He's gone up £14 for that success, but he's still, I think, relatively well treated for a race like this, where he is likely to really come into his own in a bigger field against some better opposition. He's nicely bred as well. And looking forward to seeing Cuthbert Dibble. I just got a feeling that they planned out this race a little bit, and that's why Nigel Twiston-Davis was cagey. But yeah, he normally is quite like that in an interview anyway. So I did my best. So Cuthbert Dibble, that's my nap. My next best, so we're going to Wolverhampton for the Lincoln Trial. Now, there's a horse called Unforgotten for John and Thady Gosden. James Doyle booked. We're not seeing James Doyle a huge amount at the moment. He's going back and forward from Dubai to back over to Kempton every now and again. He's got one ride for Godolphin, and that is on this horse Unforgotten, who's been touted as a Lincoln horse, and he's done nothing wrong since returning from a massive long layoff. I don't know what exactly his problem was, but he's really thriving at present. He's showing himself just to be the horse that they always wanted to be, expected him to be. He was second back in 2021 to none other than Mahafeth, who turned out to be a very good horse or is a very good horse. And I just think that maybe he still could be quite well handicapped off 94, considering what time he's missed basically off the track. Now, if he's going to win the Lincoln, he's got to win this race, I reckon, quite well. But it's not a given. But I think I just was surprised to see him at 5-1. Could quickly, if I could ask TC for your opinion, why he is that price, considering he's done nothing wrong in his 2 starts.
Yeah, he's been really good the last twice, and the form last time out was boosted by the third Farazi Lane, who came out earlier this week and won. I think it's obviously you've got to factor in the fact that he's James Doyle, Godolphin, and John and Thady Gosden, so that would have taken a point or two off his price. But the 2 handicaps he's contested recently have been far less competitive than this one. Saying that, he's got a great chance. The only reason I didn't tip in the race was because I was a little bit scared of the other 2 at the top of the market. Outbreak, who last time out just produced a display I wasn't expecting. He was really good towards the front end of the race and powered clear for the Johnstons. And Notre Belbet, who won the race last year and was super unlucky last time out. I thought he got a average ride, to say the least. So the only reason I didn't tip in the race was because I think all 3 market leaders could justify their price. I mean, it's 5-1 the field. You could arguably back all 3 of the favourites and still make money on the race, but I decided to leave it.
Okay, well, I thought that was quite a good price for for what he's done, but interested to see your thoughts on it. That's the Lincoln trial as post Cheltenham. We will edge ever closer to the beginning of the turf season. So looking forward to that. But good race card on Saturday at Wolverhampton, as is the racing at Sandown and the likes. So that is it. Those are our naps on next best. I'll look at the main race, the main race on Saturday. And if you're listening to this and you're looking for your Cheltenham preview podcast, don't be afraid. We've got it. It's all there for you. It's on YouTube. It's on our podcast channels. Make sure that you listen to our healthy debates, and you can listen to me wax lyrical about Jerry Colomb, who's got his reign. I'm so excited, guys. I can see you shaking in dismay. And this is going to come back to haunt you all. Let's see what happens. But I hope that you enjoy those previews. Good luck for this weekend. Good luck for Cheltenham. A reminder that new SBK customers can get £10 in free bets by betting £10. T's and C's always apply. And we will see you very soon.